Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild, a podcast that's all about the memories and experiences playing board games with friends and families can create. On this episode, we have Bernardo from Salt Ring Games, and we're going to talk about Ambal Tournament, his new game on Kickstarter. Alright, I just wanted to start off by saying how impressed I am with the phenomenal art that's in this game. I like how it's just sort of like an impressionist style art where you get the idea of what is happening on the card text. It's just phenomenal. That is basically what got me going on the game to start with. And then the gameplay, when I looked at it, I also really liked. But that art is just amazing.
Yeah, I like how all the cards stick to one color, but they do it in a way that actually adds a lot of emotion and activity to the card. They're very intense.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that I wanted for the art, and I wanted really defined silhouettes, so you would see the character, but I didn't want it to be really realistic or detailed, so you don't see like a lot of you see a little bit of facial expression, but not like fine details like hair or like eyes and this kind of things, because I really wanted to focus on the skill. So every card of the game is a skill. There are no monsters or characters, so I really wanted the essence of the skill to shine, so we wanted to be dramatic and high contrast, and the colors is also really important for that.
Yeah, I liked how the art in general, how it actually worked for each of the different like skill paths you have. The name of the card actually worked with the art.
Yeah, I think most people, they say that the art drew them, and then they start reading about the game and then they like it, and the lore and the mechanics match with what the art is presenting. So it was really cool for that. And yeah, each school has their own kind of monochromatic style to them. So Fire has this red orange tone, Assassination has this purple tone, Sword has this yellow-orange tone, and Water has a blue tone.
So just on the art a little bit more, you said you had a couple different artists working on it with you. Was that difficult, having multiple different artists? Or did you find that process easy?
It was difficult. In the beginning, I only had one, which was Vincent. He did almost all of the art. He did all of the art for the box and the tokens and the card back. And then he did like 40 skills. And then he couldn't continue on the project because he had other stuff to do. So I contacted the new artist, and it was a little bit hard in the beginning to everyone match the style and understand the whole lore and everything to really capture the essence of the skills. But then after they did the first skill, the first illustration, it was become way easier because they were able to replicate the style a little bit, and also find what they liked for the illustration.
Is there one that's your favorite piece of art on the game?
I think the box is really the standout for me, and I really like the card back as well. I think it was really it shows the style of the game really well, and it's not so expressive, but still it's like serious and kind of mysterious.
Yeah, the box art is amazing.
Yeah, and it shows the 4 different schools in each corner. If you like see the colors, it represents the 4 schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't even notice that at first, but yeah, it definitely does. Now, so you have that card back. So that card back's pretty much set in stone. Are you planning on having like more skills with the game later on, or expanding on those existing ones?
I want to expand the game and add new schools and also new skills for the existing schools, and because the whole game is based on RPGs, and each school is kind of like a attribute in RPGs or schools, some RPGs call it. And I want to add things like air magic and earth magic and other types of fighting like hammer or shield. So I want to keep adding schools to give players more customization for their decks and find different play styles and different mechanics.
Do you want to give like a overhead of like how the game functions and works?
Yeah, so the game is a card game, and players will go through all of the phases simultaneously, even combat. So it works with a double blind system where each player will put a card face down at the same time and then reveal it at the same time, and then will resolve combat. So a player might block the other. If, for example, one player is using an action and the other player is using a skill that blocks an action, then a block happens and they completely block the skill of the opponent. Or other effects can happen like curses and boons. So there's a couple of different skill types, and how they interact with each other is basically the big part of the game, and how you take advantage of that, and how you realize what your opponent's trying to do and take advantage of that as well. And you start with health points and an energy board. And the first player to lose all of their health, or if their max energy goes too low, they also lose.
And those energy boards look pretty cool. And the different tokens you have on there too. What got you started with the idea of designing a game?
I'm a game designer. I got a bachelor degree in game design a couple of years ago. So I've been doing games for a while, like during college, of course, and before that, like just my own little projects that I never published. So I've always wanted to make a game on my own. And I really loved online RPGs. I played it my entire life, and I wanted to make that. But to make an online RPG alone is kind of impossible. It's like you need a huge team. And so I had some ideas that I wanted to do for combat in RPG. And then I translated those ideas into a card game because I also really love card games. And yeah, that's basically how it started. So this idea of having schools and having a dual type game and just being based on skills was the first idea that I had that I wanted to work with.
What got you the idea of doing like the lane combat sort of thing where you use the lanes and then you reveal the cards? What?
I'm not sure. I just wanted to get the idea of the RPG when it's like real time battle. And I wanted to find a way to get that idea on how to explore interrupts and blocks instead of just doing like a reaction type of mechanic, like in Magic, for example, use something and then someone reacts to it. I don't like that kind of dynamic very much, so I wanted to find a different way, and I ended up doing this simultaneous reveal system. And after a while, I realized, oh, this is pretty much exactly how Pokemon works, the digital game, not the card game, where each player picks an attack to do in combat, and then they happen at the same time. Like, oh, and then that hit me only like a year after I started working on the project. But I play Pokemon my entire life, so maybe I unconsciously kind of got the idea from that.
That sounds like a great segue. I was going to ask, this is a card game. What other card games have potentially influenced you? You mentioned Pokemon. Have you got any others like that you want to mention as things that you were into maybe in your youth?
I think the main inspiration for the game is actually Guild Wars. It's a kind of old school RPG, and the game has a really, really interesting skill system, which you only have 8 skills in your skill bar, and you can pick 2 professions, and usually you specialize in 2 attributes. So that was like the main inspiration. So I wanted to make a deck that was small to capture that idea that you only have a couple of skills available. So you have your deck of cards only have 20 cards. And yeah, Pokemon was also a big inspiration. Mostly digital games were the big inspiration for my game. And I played a lot of Pokemon trading card game. I played just a tiny little bit of Magic. Not like a big Magic player, but I've always admired the art, which is one of the best arts I've ever seen. And yeah, the main inspirations were Guild Wars, Pokemon, and other RPGs that I played, like Diablo 2, Ragnarok, Tibia, and yeah, it's a long list.
Okay. So I'm misconstruing this. So when you were making this game, I feel like this was more like theme first rather than mechanics first in terms of your design process?
No, it was design mechanics first.
Oh, okay.
I definitely knew what I wanted and how I wanted the game to play and feel, and the mechanics that I wanted to use. So the only theme that I had in the beginning was, I wanted to be kind of a dual and medieval, because I know I wanted to go that route. But I didn't have the schools locked down. I didn't have the story. I didn't have anything of that.
Mention not wanting monsters or creatures or characters.
Mm-hmm.
Was that mainly to keep the game moving? Because I know in a lot of these type of card games, you're artificially putting your health up by playing monsters that have health. Was that the idea behind not having those?
No, it was mostly because I wanted, again, you feel like you're in combat and not your monsters. You're not like controlling other things. You're the one doing the action and you're the one receiving the action. So you're really feeling like you are the character instead of that you're controlling other characters.
You're living in Japan there. Were you able to find, and I believe in Japan that board games are really big, were you able to find like a lot of places to play test your game?
Yeah, there are a couple of meetups for especially international people, international community in Japan. And I participated in some of them to play test and I also play tested a lot online through Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia. Those are really helpful, especially when there's a lot of changes in the beginning. It's easier to update them in the digital version than like reprint all the cards and everything.
Yeah.
So I found that the Tabletop Simulator was really good for that.
Yeah, and everyone looking at the Kickstarter, if you want to try the game, it's still available on Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia, depending on which one you have. So you can play it first and then back it. I thought that was really cool that you actually put it up for both platforms.
Yeah, 'cause I put it up first on Tabletopia, and then a lot of people said they prefer Tabletop Simulator, so I put it up there as well. So it just had two, because I know some people prefer one or the other.
So I found the advanced game really an interesting concept. Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, actually the advanced mode is the original mode. I just created the regular mode so it was easier for new players to get started to the game. But the advanced mode, you have two decks. You have a battle deck of 12 cards, and you have a library deck of 15 cards. And during the game, at the end of each round, you can pay a little bit of max energy to add cards from your library deck to your battle deck. So during the game, you're still customizing your deck and sometimes trying to get counters to your opponent, or just add more cards to make your strategy better. So I wanted to avoid, like in some card games or in other games as well, when you start the game, depending on what you have picked before the game started, it might be over already, like a rock, paper, scissors kind of problem. So I wanted to avoid that and let people continue building their deck during the game so they can really shape and adapt to what their opponent is bringing.
Yeah, it seems to take that meta game of a lot of card games where between games you're customizing your deck to respond to what the person did in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually incorporating that into the game, right?
Yeah, during the game. And yeah, I think it's really fun because it allows you to explore different strategies during the game, and also to adapt to what your opponent's doing. And also, if you play a best of 3, you can keep the same decks and just like play it differently.
That was something that stuck out as me too, because like I skimmed your rule book and I noticed that your recommended starter decks are only 20 cards deep, which is quite a lot different from a lot of other card games that I'm familiar with. Anyways, what's the thought process behind these tiny decks? I guess.
Yeah, the idea is that they're skills, so with time they recharge. So when your deck runs out of cards, you shuffle your discard pile and you make a new deck. And when that happens, your max energy goes down, but you get to play all the skills again. So it's quite simple. It's nothing like fancy. It's just that I wanted the skills to refresh and you be able to play them again.
It's also nice too because when you're playing your opponent, the first time you go through your deck, they can pretty much know what you have.
Yeah.
So the second time you go around, they can react better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll have a better idea what strategy you're going for and what type of cards you have, because understanding what type of cards you have, if they're actions or spells, is really important in order to try to block or interrupt them.
Yeah, because if they're an attack-heavy deck, you might want to be a little bit more defensive in what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, can decks be more or less cards, or is 20 or with 12 and 15 with the advanced game the number?
Yeah, these numbers are fixed. You can't have more or less. Okay. And you can only have one elite card in your battle deck anytime. So, and the elite card is just like a stronger type of skill that you're only allowed to have one. And it can really define the match sometimes, or just help you more defensively and prevent some things to happen.
That Kickstarter exclusive promo, that Blizzard Elite spell is pretty cool. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that art is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
And I wanted to give something special to backers and like make it full art and a completely new art. That art was developed only for the promo card.
I love full art cards. I think they're really cool. Are you thinking to do more full art cards in the future, maybe?
Yeah, I want to do them as promo cards and keep making different alternative art for them. And especially for the elite ones, which I think they're the really big, impactful skill. So it's fun to have something special for them.
Yeah, and you can only have one in your deck, so it's cool that it's like when you get that one card, you're just like, okay.
Yeah, it's a big punch.
Yeah. So the base game has the 4 skills in it. When you move on to other ones, are you looking at like doing like 1 skill packs, or are you going to do like a 4 skill pack?
Depends on how many cards I have in each school. I would like, if possible, to sell them individually if they get like to 50 cards each, or separate them in different sets. Because I'm planning the next set, and I want to introduce new skills for all of the existing schools and the new school, actually 2 new schools. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to sell just the cards separately. If I can, I'll try to do that.
Are you going to stay on the Kickstarter platform after that, or are you looking at going to retail?
I think I'm going to stay to Kickstarter. It depends if this first project will be successful or not. If it's not, I'll definitely try again and try to improve the project. I think Kickstarter is a good platform for me, especially for new creators, because it gives a lot of visibility and you can interact with the community. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them don't make it the first time. I think you got a good shot, but yeah, definitely don't give up. I'm glad you're not going.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to. I invested just a lot of time and money. It's not a question of giving up right now.
I had a question about those schools too, if you don't mind. I read that there were only 4 schools, and I read that you were looking at adding more. I'm glad to hear that you've got 2 more in the wing. Was there a certain number that you had planned, like from the get-go, or it was, I'm going to add 1 now?
I actually had 6 planned in the beginning, but then I found it was just too much to balance. And it was 6 of them and 40 schools in each. So it was a lot of cards. And I found that it was hard to test and balance those. And I really wanted to reduce the number so I could polish all of the cards, because since there are no rarity in the cards, all of them, for me, they should feel impactful and useful in some way. So rather of just doing like 200 cards and have a bunch of them they're not so good or just unbalanced, I wanted to really take my time to make it all of the 100 cards the best they could be.
Was it difficult to pick which schools would come early/later?
No and yes. It depends, because I know the mechanics. Like I said, I know the mechanics that I wanted. And I know I wanted a school to be more defensive and support, kind of. So the water magic was clear for that. I know I wanted a school to be really offensive, so fire magic was clear for that. I know I wanted a school to be based a lot on blocks and be more balanced, so the sword path was clear for that. And I know I wanted a school to be more like a trickster, like have some cool different skills and mechanics in that, and assassination path just fits right for that. So the other 2 schools that I had planned were Death Magic and Hammer Path, which are also really cool, but I felt that they're not as unique as the other ones. And the name of the set is Foundation, because I wanted these 4 schools to be like the base of the game and show how well structured the game can be.
So another thing that seems to make this game fairly unique is the play time. 20 to 30 minutes. Does it consistently fall within that range every time you play test it?
Yeah, it depends on how well the people that are playing know the game. If they're beginners, then it takes a lot, maybe 30 minutes to 40 minutes, because they have to read the cards and understand the mechanics. But if there are 2 people that play the game a couple of times, then it can go to 15, 20 minutes. It depends on the match. So I put that 20 to 30 to be like a safe range.
I can see where some games could go really quick.
Yeah, it depends on how aggressive the decks are. So if you're playing with 2 very aggressive decks, then the game tends to end faster. And for each school, they also have, I posted on the updates or the Kickstarter campaign, their archetypes. So explain a little bit of what it means for each school to be more aggressive or protective, to be linear or non-linear, and to be burst or steady, which are the keywords that I use for the archetypes.
So what's your general thoughts overall of doing the Kickstarter campaign? This is your first Kickstarter campaign, right?
Yeah, I tried actually a month ago, a first time. It was way less successful because I just did some mistakes regarding marketing. I didn't push it too hard. And now this time around, I'm investing way more. It's a lot of work, especially for marketing. You have to contact a lot of people. You have to ask questions. You have to keep things engaging. And doing everything on your own while also doing other things, and have a full-time job as well. So it can be stressful, but at the same time, it's really rewarding for me to see that people are enjoying the game. So that keeps me going.
Yeah, I heard Kickstarter can be very rough to get going, so I'm
Yeah,
glad you're getting the hang of it.
you have to prepare. Like I planned the campaign page for like 6 months or 4 months in advance, and preparing the images and how what's written and how to present it. And I learned 3D rendering and animation to do the video for the Kickstarter. And so there's a lot of work put into it. If you like this kind of work and you like doing a lot of different type of tasks, yeah, it's a really rewarding experience, especially if it's successful.
Yeah, the 3D renders are nice. Or pretty well done. I'm impressed that you did those yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Because I learned a little bit of 3D during college, so it wasn't like a huge thing to learn. I had like some basic knowledge about it.
So you went to college for game design. How did that work with the different classes? Did you have like classes on like how to design Euro games or just overall marketing and stuff?
It was game design in general, so it's not like board games. And I had to learn, yeah. So I had classes for coding, I had classes for art, I had class for game design, like theory. I had classes for video editing, for 3D, for animation, 2D. So it was a really complete pack, but also it didn't go too deep into one section. So you had to learn on your own if you really wanted to like focus on something.
Yeah, board games is growing and burgeoning, but I didn't think it was like quite big enough to have like courses offered specifically on how to design board games.
No. It was actually mostly for video games.
Right, of course.
So did you design any video games while you were in school, or do you have plans to design a video game?
I designed a couple because every semester we had to make a game. And on the first semester it was actually a board game. And then on the following ones, it was digital games. So yeah, I developed a couple of them, but nothing like too polished to be published. But it's still a great learning experience, especially working with groups and like dividing work. Like, oh, you will do the art, you will do the coding, you will do the level design, all of that. It's a really good experience, learning all of the process behind it. And yeah, I kind of want to make a video game maybe in the future. Especially based on the lore that I'm making, but I don't have any concrete plans for now. I want to focus on the card game.
I think Ambal Tournament would be great as like an app or on the Switch.
Yeah, I thought of that, but then I thought, oh, if I'm gonna make it a digital version, I'm probably gonna change some things around. I'm not gonna just make the same game. I would add more RPG elements, things like classes and attributes and something like that, but keep the same dynamic of the combat with the skills. So yeah, I'll have to see.
While we're talking about game design and related topics, I've heard people speak of game design as either painting, where you have blank canvas and you kind of try to put things on there little by little, or sculpting, where you throw everything at the wall and just sort of peel things away. So what's your process in terms of those two ways of doing things?
I think in the beginning, I do more like painting, where I had a few mechanics that I wanted just to try and just see if they worked. And then I start piling a lot of things on top of it. And then it's more like scoping. Like, oh, after I piled a lot of things, I try to play the game and see, oh, this will break, so I remove it. And it's a constant part of removing and adding things and see what fits and what I have to mold to match the game. And sometimes you have a really cool idea and mechanic that you develop, and then when you put it in the game, it doesn't quite fit. So you either have to remove it or change that, even though it was like a neat idea. But if it doesn't fit with the game, you have to change it. And it was a lot of that.
Yeah, you got to be flexible. I think you got to be able to do both.
Yeah, especially,
sure.
Like I said, I had a lot, way more skills in quantity. And I had to remove a lot of them just to be able to focus on making a good set.
Yeah, theoretically, every time you add new sets, it'll probably get harder and harder to balance them all.
Yeah, exactly. But the good thing is that players can only use 2 schools at the same time, so that limits of how much freedom they have to build. If they could use like all of the cards, then it would be a nightmare. But balancing with the number of schools limit, it will help, I hope. But yeah, every time I have to make a balance change in one card, and especially if it's a big balance change, I have to consider all of the other cards to see how the change will affect the other cards as well.
So when you were watching playtesting and stuff, did you find that people would use two schools most often, or would they try to like make a deck out of one school?
I think they always try to use two schools because the skills just have so much synergy between them. There's no reason to focus only on one, save for a few reasons. But water and sword always had a good combination because they both can take advantage of bleeding, and water and assassination are really based on curses, so they can help each other out. Fire and assassination are really aggressive, so they work well together. So it just makes sense to use two schools.
So when you play, which schools do you choose?
I usually play with water and assassination because I really like the curses.
Yeah, that one looks cool
No,
too.
no bias. No bias.
Yeah, I should not have preferences because they're all my children, but no, I like water magic. It's just in all the games I played, I always draw into water magic.
Do you see the schools lining up to like different like play styles or like player psychographics?
Yeah, there are definitely different play styles. Like I said, the water magic is slower and more defensive in general. They don't have that many skills that do damage directly, but they have a lot of curses that can do damage over time, and they can heal themselves, so they last longer. And so yeah, it depends on what players like. If they like a slower playstyle, they will like water magic. If they like a more reactive playstyle and trying to predict their opponent, they will really like sword path. And if they just like to focus on damage and finish the game, they'll prefer fire magic. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room for everyone.
And there's two ways you can win this game, right? By knocking down the HP of your opponent or forcing them to run down their max energy, right?
Yeah, there's are the two ways. And especially for water magic, it's probably the best school to try to achieve the second method of lowering their max energy. I wanted to give it two ways, especially in the future, so I can explore different mechanics and different play styles to different strategies to win the game.
Yeah, and a lot of the tactics there's times like for the advanced game, you're actually spending your max energy, so you can actually shorten your own lifespan by drawing in more cards, so you're taking a huge risk, right?
That's a big thing for fire magic because they have a lot of cards, the skills that discard cards, or that you have to pay max energy. And because of that, discarding a lot and using a lot of skills because they can generate energy, they cycle through their deck faster. And when you cycle through your deck, you also lose max energy. So they put to do that much damage that they do, they put themselves at risk.
Yeah, I really like the fire magic set. It's cool. Just go for it, you know?
Yeah. And basically you're trying to kill your opponent before anything bad happens to you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think I do fire and sword together.
Yeah, it's a really nice combo because fire has very little defense, so having some of the defense from the sword is really helpful.
Yeah, even maybe like hide, like only play the fire cards and then throw the sword one in just to throw them off. I think that's really cool.
That's one of the things because you don't know exactly what your opponent have or what skills they have, so you kind of have to guess, but at the same time have to make an educated guess because you imagine that the deck will have synergy.
Yeah, the energy management is also very interesting, where you have to decide whether to play your high-cost card first or, wait a couple plays. Maybe your opponent doesn't have enough energy to counter your high-cost card.
Yeah, that's the real balance there. And you don't even have to use all of your energy in one round. You can save a little bit of them for the next round. So you have more room to explore how you're going to manage your energy. But yeah, usually you have to use your high cost energy early because otherwise you won't have energy later to use it. And that's a good opportunity to block or interrupt this kind of skills.
All right, so basically, one of the questions I was going to ask is, you have this project on there, are you actually going to plan on making like a whole board game line of games eventually? Like have this card game and have some other stuff too?
Yeah, I do. I want to make other kinds of board games. I have one that I kind of started writing the idea behind it. That is very, very different. It will be an actual board game, and I want to explore some different, unique mechanics as well. But that will be like a project for the future. I don't really have time right now to work on it, but It was like for this project as well. I like ideas to cook in my head for a while, and once in a while, like you start thinking about it, and then you just forget, and then when you think about it again, you have new ideas, and just like start making notes and adding ideas to the document. So that's basically the process I'm with the other project.
So getting into that, what would be your favorite board game?
It really depends with who I'm playing with. For example, I really like Dixit because, like, living in Tokyo, I have like an international group of friends, and it's really interesting playing Dixit with different cultural backgrounds and some clues that some people might get, the other people might not understand, and so it's really fun to explore those different references and cultural background for each people.
Yeah, Nathan, stick around a little bit because I always have a rough time with Dixit. Because my daughters play, and all they do is anime references and RPG references that I don't get. So I think that's cheating.
No, it's part of the game. That's fun. Or another game that I really like is Seven Wonders Duel.
Yeah.
It's a 2-player game, so if you play with someone that likes strategy, then it's really rewarding. I like almost every kind of game, as long as I feel that there's no unbalanced things. That really puts me off when I play a game and then I see like a really big design flaw that shouldn't happen. Then that's the only reason I would not like a game.
Have you played a Seven Wonders Duel with the expansion with the Gods Pantheon thing?
No. I saw the expansion, but I couldn't find to buy it here, so I haven't played it yet.
If you like Seven Wonders Duel, it just takes it up like a whole bunch more notches. It's amazing.
Oh, that's very good to hear. I'll have to look for it again.
Salt Ring Games. So tell us a little bit about where the name for your company came from.
So salt, as you lived in Asia, you probably know, is a purifying ingredient. Is believed to have purifying properties. And especially in Japan, it's believed that making a barrier with salt, just like a line of salt, can protect from demons and other bad energy and spirits. So Salt Ring, it's basically unifying the concept of salt and as protection, and the magic circle for a game design theory. And the magic circle is anytime you start playing a game and you are immersed to that universe, or just the act of playing and you accept the rules, is when you enter the magic circle. So I wanted the salt ring to represent that, and how usually people feel safe while playing games. That's like the idea behind it.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I didn't even think of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit too deep. Like no one will think about that when they see the logo, but yeah, that's kind of the idea behind it.
That's really, really cool. So you mentioned that isn't like a set in stone company name. Do you think you're actually going to move that into your full company name? Or you
I think so. Maybe the only thing that I might change is the last word games. I might change the studio, or I don't know, but for now, I think I'll stick with this. I like how it looks and how it sounds.
Yeah, I like it. Really cool.
Got one more Ambal Tournament related question. I noticed that the game uses a singleton format, so only one copy of each card can be in a deck. I'm assuming that that's partially because you've only got 20 cards to play with. If the card size was bigger, you probably could allow duplicates, but then like each card has the same probability of coming up. Yeah, talk to us about it.
Actually, again, the idea comes from RPGs, and you don't have duplicates of the same skill. Like you don't have 2 fireball skills, you have only 1. So I wanted to each player have one unique skill, and how they use it in combination with others is really important instead of just playing repeats. Also because I wanted the art to really stand out, and I think having a unique art for each card is really interesting and just adds more flavor and more dynamics to the game, I think.
I mean, it's also not bad for variance as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if I really want a skill that's similar to another one, I might have it in a different name.
Firebolt and Fireblast and Fireball.
Yeah, exactly. I could do that if I wanted. But I really didn't want to make duplicates because it just adds a layer of, I don't know, it just adds repeating too much, and I don't really appreciate that.
Okay. So
Plus
no
it all-
spamming the skills, huh?
No, no. Well, if you can find a way to recharge a skill faster, then you can use it, but not using the duplicates.
Fair enough.
Plus, it also allows your opponent to understand, like, I already played that fireball, or they already played the fireball, so
Exactly.
you can work around it a little bit, and you can watch to see when it gets taken off the board, and
Yeah, that's one big thing, because you have, like, especially boons and curses. Once you know a boon is like an improvement for yourself, once you know the boon ended on your opponent, you know they can't cast the same boon again. So you have more, it's easier to make decisions in this kind of game, because if they have duplicates, it gets just more difficult to know what they might play or not.
yeah. And then with the reveal thing, it's really good to get that predictive thing
Mm-hmm.
halfway through, so you can generally get a good feel of what's happening. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah.
A very reasonable price point here. It's what, $28 for the core set?
Yeah, I think, yeah, 28 in dollars. Because I see the prices in yen, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the prices in yen are much higher, but that's
and that's
What
one
do you-
thing that people kind of got put off. I saw some people like, oh, you're asking for $18 million. You're never going to get that. I'm like, it's yen. It's not dollars. So I had to explain and like, oh, you just basically cut 2 zeros out and that's a price.
They have a currency conversion thing too on Kickstarter, so I just hit the button and put it to US dollars.
Yeah. But I think some people have like the original shown, so it can throw some people off.
You mean it's not $2,900 for one of them? Not kidding.
I mean, you could make a pledge for that value. I wouldn't complain.
No, I wouldn't either. So when people are back in the game, do you recommend they get the 1-pack, or probably they should get the 2-pack for $55, right?
Yeah, the 2-pack, and it's a great value for a 4-player game. You have more room to build decks. If you're just playing with 2 people, you still have like more room to build decks. And with 4 players, it's really fun because it's the same idea of the game, but it's more chaotic. And each player will have target tokens. So when they place a card face down, they also place a target token face down, and then reveal both at the same time. So you see which is the target of the skill. And the game lasts a bit longer, maybe like 40 or 50 minutes, but it's a lot of fun when people are just like throwing spells all left and right and trying to kill each other.
Yeah, I noticed that the 4-player it's effectively 2-player teams, right?
Yeah, it's 2 against 2.
Did you experiment with the possibility of a free-for-all mode at any point in time?
I didn't. I tried it out, but it didn't work. It wasn't as fun as 2 against 2, especially
Okay.
because there's some support cards that make the game fun, like healing your partner or casting a boon on them or resurrecting them. So the free-for-all, I felt if you want to play free-for-all, usually the 1v1 is just better.
Fair enough.
And I actually, like sometimes when I play with friends, we play first 2 1v1s at the same time, and then we play a 2v2, just like to add some, yeah. I think it works better.
So do you do the 1v1s to determine who's going to be on whose team?
Maybe you could separate the winners and losers.
Well, whoever's on my team wins. No, I'm kidding.
I'm actually not that great at my own game. I lose quite often. I think I just get too much in my head, like, oh, I have to maybe change this or add that, and then I get distracted.
Yeah, I actually found from talking to a couple other designers, and they are not very good at their own game.
Yeah, I think we're just too stressed out with people enjoying and people understanding the game and people playing it right, and at the same time thinking about what you could change or add to the game. It's like a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like there's normal players, and then there are players that are thinking about the metagame. You're thinking of sort of about the metagame over here somewhere.
Yeah, it's like way different. And I think it's the same for most designers. They don't enjoy the game as much when they play it because it's part of work and it's part of your constant balance and improvement of the game. So it's like you're always kind of stressing out a little bit, at least for me.
Yeah, I find it hard enough just, playing these games while we're recording and then trying to be entertaining. But then you have to, you're designing the game in your head at the same time. I couldn't imagine trying to do it.
Yeah, I'm usually on my phone making notes and, I have to fix this or change that. And yeah, it's But at the same time, it's rewarding when other people play it and you watch them playing and they're having fun. So that's really fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I usually prefer watching people play than play it myself.
I think this actually would be.
You get more information that way, anyways.
Yeah, that's good for just watching the playtest as well.
I think this is one of the games that would be actually really cool to watch people play along with playing, because it'd be neat to see like what's going on in their head, and I know you can't really see that, but let's just see how they react to different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think even for like a competitive format, if people really want to like to get competitive in this game, it will be really good. There's a lot of room for that, for strategy and being in more serious play.
Are you thinking about, well, if the game takes off really well, do you think about tournaments and stuff?
Yeah, if there's like a big following and interest, I will definitely want to make a tournament.
Well, it is in the name of the game.
Yeah.
It's true.
It'll be the Ambal Tournament. But yeah, it's something that I wanted to allow for, especially in the advanced format. I think there's a lot of room for competitive play there.
Yeah, that whole, I want to call it sideboarding in the middle of the game, but at that point it's no longer sideboarding. So
yeah, it's definitely it's part of your deck. It's just if you want to pay the price to add it or not.
Right.
Yeah, I think you'd have to know the cards very well before you could get to that point. Otherwise, you're going to take a while figuring out, looking through all your cards.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I made the regular mode, because I found that beginners, like first time people playing for the first time, had a really hard time like when they open the library deck, because you can look at the entire library deck and just pick the cards you want, and they will take a long time because they had to read the cards and think of, oh, this might be good or not. So yeah, the advanced format is it takes a long time, and you definitely need to know the skills very well.
Yeah, this game looks like it would definitely reward playing it often and well.
Yeah, but I think that's the most fun format for the game.
The advanced format? Yeah.
Yeah. Because, well, it depends, I guess, if you are more into the strategy. If you just want to play casually, then probably playing the regular mode for a longer time will be better.
You probably switch between the two.
Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility in the regular mode too, because like you can tweak your decks in between play sessions. There can be metagame movement.
Yeah, and I'm planning to add a draft mode as well. Because I already wrote it down, and I had to play test a little bit more, but it will use all of the 100 cards for 2 players, and will work with like selecting cards and banning cards for your opponent. So like going back and forth and picking cards and banning cards.
That sounds really cool.
Do you have any way of handicapping built in? So if like experienced players trying to play with a new player, they can handicap themselves so he doesn't just trash them?
I think it's hard because I think the most important thing in the game is the knowledge. If you know the cards, then you already have an advantage. So a handicap, maybe, I think the only one will be reducing how much energy you get at the end of each round. But I never tried it, actually. So I don't know how well it will work, but it could be a possible handicap. Or they just start with less health.
Okay.
Or maybe draw less cards.
Yeah, they could reduce the hand size. Yeah, there's actually a lot of different options you could do, but I never thought about it.
Yeah, you could play with the energy meter too, but this is all hypothetical.
Yeah. If I see a lot of people like requesting that, then I might develop like a handicap system.
Are you thinking about doing like an app companion for it, for like you can offload the health and energy stuff?
I could do that. I didn't plan or think about doing it now, but just because like developing an app, it's a lot of work as well. So, but yeah, in the future, I wanted to have more options for the players. So that definitely be a possibility.
Is there anything like specific you want to say about the game too?
I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, just the rule book. I think it explains quite well the game in depth. It's kind of a long rule book for how simple the game is, but I just wanted to make sure all the details were in place, and also to allow the competitive play. So on the battle phase description, there's like a list of order of how things work, and that's most important for competitive play, I think.
Yeah, I didn't think the rulebook was all that long. I like the fact that it's detailed and specific.
To me, that order in which cards sort of resolve after they're revealed was sort of the whole linchpin of the game. You need that order in order for the various cards to do what they do. Like you need the cards that counter things to counter the things before those things happen. Right?
Yeah, and that order actually helps me a lot when designing new cards because I know exactly how things are supposed to play out, and it helps me see where each card will fit in the order, and yeah, it just like helps balancing.
Have you put any thought into putting uncountable cards in the deck?
Yeah, there are.
Oh,
I think
boy.
I think there's one, a finishing charge, which is Assassination Elite, where I think it can't be countered. I don't remember right now. I think it can't be blocked, but it might be able to be interrupted. So yeah, there's a lot of room to explore. There is one card, I think it's Violent Sweep from Assassination. It interrupts any card. So in theory, you can't interrupt it because it interrupts everything.
Yeah, and you can use that as your finishing thing or just to put the person off balance. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, and there's more room to like try different mechanics as well. Just adding in the description that it can't be interrupted or it can't be blocked already changes the dynamic a lot. And there's actually one card in Sword Path that if your opponent is trying to block you, you will interrupt the block and do more damage. So yeah, you can take advantage of that.
Like a counterattack. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're on the Kickstarter, and by the time this episode airs, you'll still be on Kickstarter. People will still be able to back it at that point. Are you thinking about, if it successfully funds and everything looks good, are you thinking about doing late pledges and stuff?
I'm not thinking that because I'm not using a pledge manager. So I wanted to keep things simple because it's my first project, and I know sometimes dealing with pledge manager can be complicated and require a lot of keeping up with people's and requests. So I'm not planning to do that now. But if towards the campaign I see that a lot of people want it, I might do it, but I don't have a plan for that. I wanted to, after the campaign ends, I really want to focus on delivering the game that I had planned and start working on the next expansion. So anyway, in the future, when I make a next expansion, I will have the foundation set available again.
That's really good that you're actually just going to focus on getting it out there, too.
Yeah, because I know there's like a lot of things to learn and things to try, especially because it's my first time. So and I put that in the project. I'm really honest about it. Like, this is my first time, so I want to take my time and plan everything right. And I don't want to add add-ons. I don't want to add complicated stretch goals. I want to keep the project simple so I can, in fact, deliver in the time that I'm promising.
Yeah, and really most of the time, stretch goals are only just showing off the content that was going to originally be in the game anyway that you just backed.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And my stretch goals are just more of the promo cards. And I don't even have the art ready yet. It's something that I would develop if I get the stretch goal.
The stretch goals, when they hit, are they going to be the full art ones, like the epics?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
wow.
It's the full art promo cards.
So they really need to get back to get those stretch goals. Those full art cards are really cool.
Yeah, and yeah, they're amazing. And I plan to have more, maybe different styles in the Elite, the promo cards as well, like changing the style a little bit and still have to be impactful and monochromatic. But yeah, I'm excited to show them.
So the Kickstarter, there's links to the Tabletopia, Tabletop Simulator, and the rules PDF is on there, so they can look at all that stuff too. There's also a Unfiltered Gamer did a video on it, and I believe you had the how to play video on there too, right?
It's not a how. Yeah, it's a little bit of how to play. He doesn't go too much into specifics, but he gives like an overall explanation that's pretty good.
There is a how to play video on YouTube too that I can put in there, and I thought that was pretty good too.
Also on the project page, on the updates, if you want to see more of each individual school, I put an update for each school that shows some of the new art and talks a little bit more in depth of the strategy and just the concept of the school.
Yeah, I liked all the art and all the. I like how you did the updates. I think they're really cool. There's definitely a lot of content in each one.
Yeah, I tried to explain all of the kind of story behind it, like based on the lore and also the archetype and how it affects the gameplay, and give like some examples. So people seem to like it.
And if you wanted to share with, how would people find you?
I think the best way would be Discord or just a campaign page and through the comments, or Instagram. I'm active there as well on the DMs. or can leave a comment on the post. I'm pretty active in most social media, so anywhere you try to message me, I'll reply.
I think I'm going to try to also get a video up of the gameplay on Tabletop Simulator too.
Yeah.
You mean you record it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to record it.
Oh, that's nice.
See if we can get some games of that in and recorded and get that up there. So hopefully,
Yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah, definitely want to get someplace into it because I'm really excited. I already have like a strategy that I'll crush Nathan or Dan with. So.
Well, I'll want to see it then, the recording, but you better win.
Yeah, I better win.
After that.
Yeah. James, you keep on bragging. One of these days, it's gonna cash up with you.
Yeah. Well, we played I won Concordia, but the game Lords of Waterdeep, I won that one too, didn't I?
A bragging wall.
I think this game would look really cool. I love recording on Tabletop Simulator. I really.
But didn't I win Blood Rage?
You did win the one when we were playing with Peter.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have any questions when recording, just let me know. I have all the cards there, so if you want to build your own decks, you can do that as well.
Do you have it scripted to do like set decks to start with?
Yeah, they're already built and they're on the table.
So I'll probably play it first with that and then make our own decks, and then that's probably where I'll win when we make our own decks. And I'll.
Yeah, try to play the advanced format.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. I like that a lot. So yeah, definitely hopefully get a couple of those up. They seem to be very popular, so for that I can get them up faster than I can the audio recordings.
Yeah.
Really glad that you let us interview you. Really excited about Ambal Tournament. I really like like I said, the art was the number one thing that got me. I really like the art in that game. I think it's just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Can't wait to get some more plays on that. Hopefully get some of those up. But
thanks for
having me.
A good time. Yeah, I did. It was great talking with you.
And good luck with your campaign.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping that the last days will be better, because now it's like on the middle of the campaign, which is usually slower, but I hope it picks up again.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can help you out a little bit, because normally it's dead in the middle and then towards the end it jumps up. So this will probably be all the stuff got up last week, so hopefully that'll help. I really hope it's fun, because I think I really want to see more content.
Oh, thank you. I hope as well.
Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. And don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved.